What does it take for a pop icon to silence every critic and prove she belongs among Hollywood's greatest actresses? Hey, it's Darcy from Ladies First, and today we're talking about Moonstruck and how Cher transformed from entertainment punchline to Oscar winner through one career-defining performance. By the late 1970s, Cher's career had hit rock bottom. The woman who'd conquered the charts with Sonny Bono in the 60s and launched a successful solo career was now a single mother struggling to stay relevant. Her TV series flopped, her second marriage to rock star Gregg Allman crumbled, and Hollywood saw her as nothing more than a celebrity curiosity. But Cher refused to fade away. She enrolled at Lee Strasberg's prestigious actors studio in New York City, determined to prove she could act. Her breakthrough came in 1982 with Robert Altman's comeback to the five and dime, Jimmy Dean, Jimmy Dean. This marked her official rebrand from pop star to serious actress. The gamble paid off. Her supporting role in Silkwood alongside Meryl Streep earned her a Golden Globe win and an Oscar nomination in 1983. Critics were stunned. Cher could actually act. She followed this with the critically acclaimed Mask in 1985, playing a mother fighting for her disfigured son's dignity. By 1987, Cher was on fire. She starred in 3 major box office hits that year: The Witches of Eastwick with Jack Nicholson, Suspect with Dennis Quaid, and the film that would change everything, Moonstruck. Moonstruck tells the story of Loretta Castorini, a practical Brooklyn widow who accepts a marriage proposal from Johnny Camilleri, a safe but passionless choice. When Johnny leaves for Sicily to see his dying mother, he asks Loretta to invite his estranged brother Ronnie to their wedding. But when Loretta meets the intense one-handed baker Ronnie, her carefully controlled world explodes into passionate chaos. What made this role perfect for Cher wasn't just the comedy or the working-class roots, it was Loretta's journey from someone hiding behind practicality to a woman brave enough to embrace her authentic self. At 41, Cher understood what it meant to rebuild her life after public failure and heartbreak. Director Norman Jewison saw something in Cher that others missed. While Hollywood still viewed her as a celebrity playing dress-up, Jewison recognized her raw authenticity. Cher brought decades of hard-won wisdom to Loretta. Every scene where the character stands up for herself carries the weight of Cher's own battles for respect in an industry that wanted to reduce her to a punchline. The chemistry between Cher and Nicolas Cage crackles with desperate intensity. When Ronnie declares his love with operatic fury, Loretta's defenses crumble. But what makes Cher's performance brilliant is that she never lets us forget that Loretta is making a conscious choice to finally live. But getting Cher the role wasn't easy. Director Norman Jewison was in a desperate place when the coffee-stained script of The Bride and the Wolf landed on his desk. His passion project, an H.G. Wells adaptation starring Richard Pryor, had been rejected by every studio in Hollywood. At 60, Jewison was still hustling, still facing rejection that left him feeling destructive and disillusioned. The studio also had other ideas for Loretta Castorini. They wanted Liza Minnelli, Rosanna Arquette, Demi Moore, or Barbra Streisand. But Jewison never seriously considered anyone but Cher. He saw something the executives missed, a gritty, streetwise quality that perfectly matched his no-nonsense protagonist. Industry research suggested Jewison was making a mistake. Cher's Q-score, a measure of brand appeal, was below average for actresses. The Q-score leaned towards Jane Fonda, Sally Field, and Meryl Streep as bankable actresses. Marketing executives predicted audiences wouldn't go out of their way to see her films. One expert flatly stated there was no clear evidence that Cher has pull, and some evidence that she doesn't. Jewison didn't care about the data. He recognized Cher's raw authenticity and understood that she brought decades of hard-won wisdom to Loretta. Every scene where the character stands up for herself carries the weight of Cher's own battles for respect in an industry that wanted to reduce her to a punchline. Jewison was eventually vindicated when he saw how the chemistry between Cher and Nicolas Cage crackles with desperate intensity. When Ronnie declares his love with operatic fury, Loretta's defenses crumble. But what makes Cher's performance brilliant is that she never lets us forget that Loretta is making a conscious choice to finally live. Behind the scenes, Moonstruck was far from the harmonious production fans might imagine. The film's success was actually a triumph over complete chaos, which makes it even more remarkable. Nicolas Cage was an unlikely choice for for Ronnie. At just 23 years old, he was 17 years younger than Cher and missing his 2 front teeth, which he'd had removed for his role in Birdie. Critics called him not all that great looking, but it was actually Cher who pushed for his casting when the studio wanted bigger names like Tom Cruise or Bill Murray. Cage brought a punk edge to set that matched his eccentric personal life. He owned 2 sharks, an exotic insect collection, and a jewel-encrusted tortoise. He patterned Ronnie's melodramatic gestures on German expressionist cinema, specifically citing Fritz Lang's Metropolis as inspiration. The method actor was almost entirely nocturnal, adding to the on-set tension. It's worth mentioning that Cher and Cage actually had a genuine love-hate dynamic that translated into their on-screen relationship. Cher called Cage crazy in interviews, saying, "Sometimes he's a blast on set, other days I'd get real peeved at him." Cage, who had adored Cher as a boy, was even less diplomatic, telling reporters, "I think she needs a good director, otherwise she's in trouble." Cher could be stubborn and resistant to direction. After working past noon without a lunch break, she confronted Jewison in front of the entire cast and crew. "Did I just hear that? You're not going to let us have lunch?" She threatened to report him to the Actors Guild. Jewison would later reflect on Cher's headstrong attitude as a result of her long career in show business, which taught her to be vigilant of people controlling talent. The tension finally exploded during the climactic kitchen scene, where all the characters gather for the final reckoning. Multiple failed takes led to actors telling each other off. At one point, Danny Aiello clutched his testicles and shouted at Cage, "You gotta give it to me from here!" After another round of failed takes, Cage became so consumed with rage that he hurled a chair at another actor. It was the elderly Chaliapin Jr. who saved the production. Rising to be heard above the chaos, he called out, "Calma, calma, calma," and explained they were working in the tradition of Fado farce, where we pull everything together in the last scene. His intervention somehow de-escalated the situation and motivated the cast to finish the scene perfectly right after. When the Academy Award nominations were announced in early 1988, Cher's inclusion in the Best Actress category validated her incredible comeback. She was nominated alongside powerhouses like Meryl Streep, Glenn Close, Holly Hunter, and Sally Kirkland. At the 60th Academy Awards ceremony, Moonstruck swept 3 categories: Best Actress for Cher, Best Supporting Actress for Olympia Dukakis, and Best Original Screenplay. When Cher's name was called, she walked to the stage in an unforgettably daring, black mesh Bob Mackie creation that perfectly captured her fearless spirit. Even better, her acceptance speech was pure vulnerability.
When I was little, my mother said, "I want you to be something." And I guess this represents 23 or 24 years of my work, and I've never won anything before from my peers.
She thanked everyone from her makeup artist to the dialect coach who taught her the Brooklyn accent, but her most powerful moment came when she acknowledged her fellow nominees.
And I would like to thank the women that I was nominated along with, because I feel really, really good, because they were so great.
What's interesting here is that everyone unanimously believed that Cher deserved her win. She was gracing magazine covers everywhere, showcasing her charm in high-profile TV appearances, and even reviving her singing career that would lead to her hit album Heart of Stone. Her Oscar win was the perfect centerpiece to her unbelievable comeback.
And I don't think that this means that I am somebody, but I guess I'm on my way. Thank you.
Cher's Oscar win represented more than personal triumph. It shattered Hollywood's narrow definitions of who deserved serious recognition. Here was a woman who'd been dismissed as a variety show novelty, proving that reinvention was possible at any stage of life. Moonstruck itself became a cultural phenomenon, showing audiences that middle-aged women could be romantic leads, sexual beings, and complex characters worthy of grand love stories. Loretta Castorini wasn't the suffering saint or manic pixie dream girl. She was a real woman with real flaws, making real choices. The film's connection to opera wasn't accidental. Like the grand emotions of La Boheme that Loretta and Ronnie attend, the movie treated love as something worth risking everything for. Cher understood that Loretta's story was operatic in its own way, a woman's aria about choosing passion over safety. Today, Cher's Oscar win for Moonstruck remains one of entertainment's greatest comeback stories. Billboard even hailed it as the best first acting performance by a musician in a movie. But more importantly, Cher proved that transformation is possible at any age, that dismissing someone based on their past is Hollywood's loss, and that authenticity always wins in the end. Loretta Castorini showed us that choosing love requires courage, and that the most radical thing a woman can do is refuse to settle for less than she deserves. Cher didn't just play this character, she lived it, turning a career that seemed over into a triumph that defined her legacy. Her Oscar speech's final line, "I guess I'm on my way," proved prophetic. Cher went on to become one of entertainment's greatest icons, showing that sometimes the best revenge against those who doubt you is simply refusing to give up. What's your take? Do you think Cher's Oscar win was the ultimate comeback story? Let me know in the comments. And if you love celebrating female screen legends, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Ladies First.